Well, this is it for 2018. There was quite a lot of movies for me to cover. Some can be considered dark, while others are considered bland. But hopefully most of these movies I'm gonna talk about are straight up awesome. Or even classical. I am Alex the Blue Man, and this is time for me to name my top 10 favorite movies of 2018. Before I get started, I want to get at least a few honorable mentions to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, because I have not seen it as of right now due to time and stuff, so giving it an honorable mention is the least I can do for it. But I will promise this, I will review it either this month or when it comes out on Blu-ray. Ant-Man and the Wasp was enjoyable enough, but not as good as its predecessor, in my opinion, mainly because it has two problems, which are the way it represents Ant-Man himself and its secondary villain. But for what it is, I don't mind watching it again. Han Solo: A Star Wars Story looks to be the weakest in the Star Wars movies we've seen this decade, but it doesn't mean that I hated it. I enjoyed it for what it is, but there are some stuff that should have been better or even cut out, like that female robot who hangs out with Lando. I find her as annoying as all Underworld. Wait, no, that's exaggerating. But you know what I mean. With all that said and done, let's move on to the real list. Number 10. Venom. I mainly enjoyed it because of how it represents the Venom character, but there is one moment that involves being in the woods and I find it pretty disturbing. One thing I will say though, it got me intrigued on where the character will go from there in the sequel, whenever that comes out. I would personally say either 2020 or 2021. Why it's not higher on this list is because I've seen better this year. And speaking of which, number 9, Ready Player One. I said this in my review and I'll say it again. This is pop culture references after another done at their finest. They added in pretty much a lot of Easter eggs and references to DC, to TV, to movies, etc. They even added in the Iron Giant, and I wanted to give it a plus for it because the Iron Giant is pretty much my most favorite animated movie. The major downside is the parts in the real world felt like a bit of filler until the second half of the movie. Number 8. Christopher Robin. If you know me, you'll know that I loved Winnie the Pooh when I was a toddler. I even watched some of the movies and shows, like The New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, The Book of Pooh, which used to air on Disney Junior back when it was called Playhouse Disney, the Tigger movie, and Piglet's Big Movie. Seeing this movie for the first time, it gets so nostalgic and makes me want to cry, because so much time passed by. This movie is like a mix of Winnie the Pooh himself and The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. In fact, come to think of it, it does feel like there were some visual moments and aesthetics that remind me of Walter Mitty. Number 7. Ralph Breaks the Internet, aka Wreck-It Ralph 2. I highly liked the original, so I wanted to see what this movie brings to the character and his arcade universe. From what I've seen, well, I enjoyed it enough to see that it's a worthy successor. As I said, my most favorite moments were Vanellope interacting with the Disney princesses, both older and recent. And it's like Disney wasn't afraid to make fun of themselves. And I was at my seat thinking, wow, your stories are way messed up than I thought. While the original was mainly about finding happiness from one, this one is mainly about letting go and moving on. At least it's what it looks like to me. Number 6. Bumblebee, because this movie did what the past 5 movies failed to do, being a good, cohesive Transformers movie. No more big, unnecessary explosions or loud, annoying characters, no, because I think this might be the best Transformers movie we've got thus far. For the movie itself, it felt like a mix of Life is Strange, Iron Giant, and Transformers itself, but overall, I really liked it. The best part is, Optimus and Bee look like their G1 counterparts. Ugh, what is wrong with me there? And that's a real good touch, since this movie takes place in the 80s, which was the time of the original G1 cartoon. If they want to continue the main series, they would have to change to the style and atmosphere established in this movie. Number 5. Aquaman. With DC having a rough time establishing its own universe, I think this could be my favorite in the franchise thus far. In the past, people hate Aquaman just because he's a fish man, but this, and the Injustice games, proves to me that there's a lot more than that. This movie has a more adventurous tone, storyline, and theme, and that's why I enjoyed it. They even kept the original color scheme for the character during some of the movie, and those are the two aspects that I like the most about this. Number 4. Black Panther. Ever since the character's introduction in Captain America Civil War, he became such an epic and unique character. Upon seeing this movie, I was surprised by one aspect, which was the villain, Killmonger. A good villain to a good or decent storyline. If I can compare him to another villain from a different franchise, he is like Koba from Planet of the Apes, mainly because both are like the dark reflections of the hero, in these cases Black Panther and Caesar. As overpraised this movie was, it didn't stop me from having a great time, and I'm glad this was a way to jumpstart the year. Number 3. The Incredibles 2. I remember that I was 5 to 6 when the original came out, and here we are, almost 14 years later. I will say the weakest link was the villain Screenslaver. If you want to know or see why, compare this to Syndrome from the original. As I was saying, what I really like about this movie is that it gives Mr. Incredible a new perspective from life, of being a hero for his own family, and that being one doesn't just mean fighting crime or saving lives. It's just really exciting to see these characters again, and if the people from Pixar decides to make a third movie, then the next decade or so would be even more exciting. Number 2. Mission Impossible 6 Fallout. I remember watching the 4th and 5th movies, but not the first 3. But I will say this, these movies get more death-defying after each film. Because if you look back, in the 4th movie we have the building climbing sequence from the side of the Burj Khalifa building. The 5th we got the hanging sequence from the side of an aircraft that was about to take off. And now here we have the halo jump and the helicopter's chase sequence. If they ever make a 7th movie, who knows what crazy stunts they're gonna think of next. And my number 1 most favorite movie of 2018 is Avengers 3 Infinity War. What this movie has that the other movies I talked about don't, is that it's the beginning of the end to a saga that started since 2008. We see the Avengers scattered as they try to think of different strategies and plans to stop Thanos from wiping out half of all life across the galaxy. The end results are heartbreaking, and we don't know what they're gonna plan next until Endgame comes out. And that is what I think is an amazingly sad way to set up the end to the main saga itself. That finally sums up 2018 as a whole. There are a lot, and I mean a lot, of me to review and rewatch for right now, but I'm still excited to see what 2019 has in store for all of us, in which I will be talking about in my next video. So thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like this video, comment down your top 10 movies of the year, and I hope you all have a blurific 2019.